Hello friends and welcome to the Kapp Gaming Rocket League Trios tournament. I'm Relic, I'm joined by the wonderful Danger Taco. We've got the lovely Uni on production as well as many wonderful moderators and such in the back of house. But today we're all focusing in on these students. It's a fantastic opportunity to kind of show their stuff in a bit of an off-the-radar tournament that I'm sure is going to give us plenty of thrills.
Yeah, absolutely. And then this is a way you can play with your brothers. And I mean that in like an emotional sense, but also because this is Pi Kappa Phi's tournament, so all these fraternity members are able to get all together and game the one true collective, really emotional bonding activity that we really all can partake in. But there is some money on the line, Relic, and it's good to see all these players going so deep in. We're joining this bracket a little bit into it. We're actually going to be starting with that winner finals. So we've already had quite the storyline develop and already some favorites potentially emerge.
Yeah, so let's explain this format in general, because as you mentioned, we've already been going for a couple of hours. A lot of games have been played, a lot of series completed. And as you can see, we have reached that winners final stage. We're going to be covering the winners finals, the losers finals, which you can see the rump chumps there. They've already, or almost made their way into it, I should say. And then the grand finals overall, where it's one best of 5 deciding who's going to come out on top and who is going to be just below the cream of the crop. Our first series then covers Haul-In and Silver 2s. Haul-In, their recent form, looking pretty great. 2-0, 2-0, and you can go all the way back to that 2-0 at the start of the day against Babytron. For the Silver 2s, they find themselves in a very similar situation. They have not dropped a single game either. And Taco, as you were mentioning to me just a moment ago before we went live, perhaps no surprise because there is some real quality on both of these squads.
Yeah, and the main thing that you want to look out for is when you are looking through these rosters is understanding that these players are going to be playing with people within their collective at their university. But that also means that you could get University Rocket League players, specifically Collegiate Rocket League players such as Stokely on Haul-In, they from Seton Hall, and then you have Antics from Bruton Parker College on Silver 2s. I'm going to say more or less they are the de facto captains for those two rosters, and so it's no surprise that they have gone through barely dropping a game, or really not dropping any games whatsoever, simply just because your captain can carry the weight. But then again, my question is, if you've gotten this far, you're in the winners final, do you have that support around you? Because one player does not make a team, and especially once you have two teams with similar archetypes with one person leading the charge, to me, I feel like almost sometimes those players cancel each other out. It's more about the support staff, really, and how they fill in all the gaps.
And I think it's a great point that you touch upon there about if it's a de facto captain or not, because if there's one thing to be said about this Pi Kappa fraternity, it's all about creating the leaders of tomorrow, giving them uncommon opportunities, as the slogan will say, to basically rise up amongst their fellow students and to go on to bigger and better things. So although you could have someone with perhaps more experience in Rocket League, or perhaps just more experience in regards to life, they're older, sometimes you want to look towards the people who are going to be creating those plays, to the people who are going to be leading from the front, in the sense of they are the guys who can change the game, and if they're getting hype, then that sort of confidence and that sort of enjoyment of the game really flows into the various teammates that they might play alongside.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. You have to have that camaraderie, and I'm sure they spend a lot of time with each other, so that's already somewhat established. I think that's the cool thing about this tournament is sometimes you just have some players having more or less a pickup roster. You just kind of throw people together, say, let's see if it sticks, but you already have that natural friendliness. You are able to talk around each other, and if you also all play Rocket League, then even better, you jump right into this tournament. Maybe it's not just for fun. You actually have a genuine interest, or rather a ambition to be able to actually get really deep into this bracket, take home some of that prize money, which of course is so nice to have in your back pocket, especially as a college student.
Yeah, we talk about it being friendly and nice friendly vibes, chill vibes. There is a competitive edge to this, right? Because we've got a near enough $1,000 prize pool to dole out to the top 3. And so really, if you've already made it to one of our broadcasts on stream here today, then guess what? You're already in the money. $150 if you go home as third placed, $300 if you go home as the second place. That means that $600, $200 a piece for each of those players if you're the winner. It's not chump change. That's going to buy you a number of meals as you look to work your way through the university zoomies. I certainly would love to go back to my old university days and enjoy plenty of different restaurants and whatnot and burn through my bank account, but this is going to help supplement them, certainly. We'll see how far they can go. Silver 2s versus Hall in. We're just about ready to go. Best of fives, by the way, throughout the entirety of the stream, which, by the way, if you are new here, please be sure to subscribe, not just here, but on all of our various socials. We do have another tournament of Kapp to announce, or it has already been announced. We'll be telling you about all those details after this series. But Danger Taco, without knowing too much about these teams, we know a bit about some individual players. Who can we give the edge to? Who do you think is coming out as the winners in our winners final?
It's difficult because typically within these matchups in a more formalized league, you do have a lot of background knowledge for all these players. But in this one, I really have to go with the names that I know. Stokely and Antics are two top-tier players. They both made the first division of Collegiate Rocket League play for this semester. But I'm going to have to give the edge to Stokely. He's an ex-pro. He's so incredibly good. So when it does come to this game, I think Hall in might have the opportunity to take it the whole way. But really, I think this winner final might be even a preview of what we might see in our grand final. I suppose only time will tell who actually comes out on top. So, as you mentioned, game one of potential 5 on the way between teams led by some fearsome competitors.
And starting off from the rip, in the blue, we will have the Silver Twos, and in Hall in over, oh sorry, in the blue I should say Hall in, and on the orange, Silver Twos. And I would agree with you as well. I'm by no means a CRL expert, but one thing I do know is Seton Hall. Their reputation precedes themselves, and Stokely really at the head of this attack. That's a shot flying wide, a good setup, but no early goal as of yet.
No, but of course, it's always around the box. Silver Twos right now are struggling to get it out of their half. You can see some clears going down the middle, but that's not going to really make a full clear. That 50 will help, so even as quickly as they were able to break into midfield, it's sent right back. I think the possession play going to be very crucial for Silver Twos, making sure not only can parry the touch away from their goal, but be able to build something from it.
Silver Twos, it's a bit of a, you know what, it's a bit of a strange name, isn't it? Because they're certainly not silvers, and they're certainly a trio, not a duo. And it is going to be a bit of a strange play to get us started then with this first goal on the board, an OG, but good pressure from Silver Twos there. And ultimately, despite all of those attacks from Hall in, comes to naught, they find themselves behind.
Yeah, Tom Candeloro going for that aerial, and I think they might have been looking at a bump, but either way, they had to read the ceiling bounce, and sometimes that can be so difficult. Same with that, Antics with the ground pinch nearly from the sidewall. Really, it's so interesting to see how far the Rocket League mechanical meta has come. Even when you fail an area, you can still get a blazing shot off just by landing on top of the ball at the right angle.
Falls to the orange corner. Oh, bit of a mistouch. Backboard. Sino's got to try and get a piece of it. I think they do, as Hall in look to ramp up the pressure once again. Sino at the center of this. Good touch there. Good challenge. And that's going to find its way all the way to the other side of the field, where Vin will pick up possession. Has his pocket picked. Stokely does well to navigate his way out of a tricky situation, but Silver 2 all over possession at the moment.
And right now they are getting closer and closer. They start this game certainly under wraps, more or less, but now they are the one that are hitting back, and there's a lot of close calls. Right now, Holland, I think, needs to be the most concerned with being able to stop these shots before they really come in. They can't really allow too many more uncontested aerials in front of their net without a couple more flying into the back of it. We're reaching halftime, and it seems like the tables really have been fully turned around, a full 360, because right now they are struggling to get out. Hall in, double tap attempt coming through from Antics. Won't get a goal, but at least we'll get a boost steal.
That's exactly what he is capable of. And look, we can talk about these individual players all day long, but Rocket League has always been and will always be a team game, and it is all about not just those individuals, but who's your supporting act if you are the star player. Well, Antics, he doesn't need a supporting act on this particular occasion, forces both defenders to go for that, a double commit we like to call it, a bit of miscommunication. Antics reads that play super well, puts it home, a simple tap in, and double the scoreline then for Silver Twos.
It's a good demonstration of sometimes it is good to have accuracy, but other times just sheer power will maybe not get past the defender, but force an awkward save. Speaking of, Stokely had to reach for that one last second, but the job is not done yet because here comes a double. Last second touch from Tom. It's still in front of the box, but just enough done for Stokely to be able to get that out to the mid. And I said, this is the de facto captain. He's trying to lead by example. He can't get an air dribble. He just tries to send it deep, and it's sent right on back.
And look at that great transitional play as well, forcing Stokely into a save. I've been really impressed with Sino on that Silver 2 defense as well. We can talk about Antics all day long and how he's very prolific in front of net, but Sino has impressed me. A bit of a shaky start to the game, sure, but it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. And speaking of, well, almost a goal to his name.
Oh, another one in from Antics. Doesn't seem like there is really too much pomp and circumstance about how they're getting the shots off. It's really just trying to throw it as quickly as possible. Speaking of, Stokely able to hop right on top of this one. A brief moment of hesitation is all it takes for him to strike.
Selfish, he passed it to himself, but what about this? I mean, lovely finish, wins the race as well, utilizing that car, utilizing that flip to the best of its ability, perhaps catching the Silver 2's rotation a bit out of sorts. They're going to take that one haul in. They needed to get on the board, especially when you're 2 goals down. Now there's a little bit of nerves in and amongst that Silver 2 camps, perhaps, as they really don't want to concede another. Then we're talking about overtime scenario.
And when you are thinking about overtime, it is especially rough from a mental perspective if you're a Silver 2s, is that you start under the gun, but then you're able to get your goals. I was going to form this narrative of Holland slowly coming back in, but it looked like Antics has another idea about that.
Just forces a bit of a mistouch there from Stokely. Antics already on his bike. He's probably shouting in comms, pass it, please. And the pass was pinpoint precision. Excellent work. Straight shots at net, 3-1. And those nerves, if they were there for a brief moment, Taco, they have surely been settled.
And it's goals like that that also work so well because we keep talking about, really, we don't know too much about the 2 players flanking, I would say, their most famous third. However, I'm really impressed by what Silver 2s are playing it. An ironic name, if there ever was one, as we have mentioned, as the infield passes, the vision that they're finding each other with. It is not an easy thing to foment, and right now, Holland is dealing with it in the only way they know how, by some panicked players just trying to reach for it, trying to hit into open space, much like that, but gonna get sent right on back. Silver 2s, that deep rotation so hard, really allow their opponents out. 40 seconds remaining. Holland need pretty much maximum efficiency on every drive going forward.
Panic and clearances. You really could not have hit the nail on the head any better, Taco. For me, both of these problems are occurring not just in their own half, but as they move up the pitch as well. For example, Vin, bit of a mistouch when sometimes doing the simples right is the best way to go about it. Sino, lovely accuracy, picks up on that loose ball. The scoreboard now shows 4-1 in favor of Silver 2s, and with only 20 seconds left, I think this one is all wrapped up.
It's a good finish by Sino, too. It's an open net, but it's always nice to be able to place it well regardless, like taking the PK, put it in top corner. Either way, you are able to see Silver 2s get their insurance goal as if the third was not enough. And I think right now, if you're Holland, you really just have to consolidate everything and say, man, this one really got turned on its head quickly. You can make sure that we can consolidate everything and make sure that we're able to break through more organically, kind of like that. But even still, Sino, the in and out save, an incredible way to put a cherry on top and take game 1.
That was a blitzing shot. He's going to be so annoyed that didn't go in because the quality definitely deserved it. They were maybe trying to keep that up to get another consolation goal to go home with, I should say, but it wouldn't have made much difference to the overall series, or game scoreline indeed. It remains 4-2, or 4-1 in this case. It remains 1-0 in the overall series. I want to see a little bit more from Vin and Tom from that haul inside going into next game. It definitely felt like as soon as that first goal was scored by Silver 2s, which it was an OG, it was a mistake at the back, might have unsettled them a little bit too much. It's why mentals is always quoted as being one of the most important parts, especially of Rocket League, because if those mentals drop, you can start to, I don't know, be a little bit silent, you start to doubt yourself, and if there's anything that you don't want in your head when you're playing Rocket League, it's doubt, because that leads to so many mistouches.
Yeah, especially difficult is also understanding the depth of the talent on the sheet. I couldn't quite read out some of the names because they had some users submitted, but Sino on the side of Silver 2s is actually the substitute for the Bruton Parker main team.
Really?
So this is quite the talented squad on the side of Silver 2s, as really the layers of really the joke are continuing to grow, as this is quite the talented squad. It's really on Hall in. Make sure if they can really make sure that they are touching the ball not only with purpose, but making sure they're confident in their challenges, because my goodness, are their opponents. Look at the 50s. It's right in front of goal for Kim, but he can't put it through.
That's a great read from Vin too, with no boost. He is rooted to the floor. Maybe he could choose to jump like that. Oh, Sino! It trickles across the force field between goal and field, and still it doesn't go over the line. Haul in. They survive another day for now.
And getting those close touches, but now actually maybe a change of game mode could do it. It is a rule 1 on the side eventually. Now a 2v2. Made even weirder by the fact that we will be seeing the attack continue on, and all the teammates just have to watch and hope that nothing untoward will happen. Stokely able to survive for now, but the flick not going to be quite the pass. A 50, all that can be mustered up. A demo, now 2v1 Stokely, double, can't wrangle that one, just barely below his car.
Oh, good touch, really good touch there from Tom. So difficult when your back is turned to the ball. That's the rule 1 engagement. Still stubborn as ever, still managing to find themselves involved as they move up this left wing. A demo on Stokely though. That's going to cut the attacking potential completely in half as Sino passes to Atrix, gets the bump on Tom, flick in and Atrix, that's going to be the 1-0 Silver 2s we're looking for.
Antix has a quality flick. Sometimes you have to make sure that you're getting all the power. You are launching it like it is a catapult, but instead gets it just slow enough, not the speediest shot because it needed to get underneath the bar and at least get on the goal line. But even better, it doesn't need any more help. It goes in on its own. Silver 2s, as you can tell, already carrying through what they've learned in Game 1, like any good college student should, learning from the past and being able to implement it in the future. However, they do need to make sure the defense stays tough, and not only does it, but the counterattacks are razor sharp as well. The save on the goal line, it's off the board again! Unbelievable by Holland, they just got away with it.
Haul in, I think it's time to buy a lottery ticket. I think it's time to buy a lottery ticket. I've not seen a goal that close to going in all year. It baffles the mind, but Silver 2s, they can't linger on that. Okay, great chance to go 2-0 up. You're still in the lead. That's the most important thing. And of all of the shots to eventually end up in the back of the net, why this one? Why this one? I mean, it's nice enough, and Bean gets his first goal of the series, but, Haul in are going to be heads in hands.
And Kim Dong is trying to get across this one, but you can see the struggle from the defense in there in ball cam zone. The ball is very quickly going off that near side post, being able to float across the back, and really all they see is just the sky, the ball, and a prayer of a chance to be able to get to it, which will not be answered. So good positioning from Silver 2, showing that they're not all just flash. They're able to work their way through methodically, get those passing plays, and sometimes it's just as simple as continuously putting the ball into a lethal position, hoping for a finish. This touch from Sino almost looked like it was going to be taken away, but Tom did not trust in the ability, opting to let that one drift to the corner, set it back to mid for Antix to pick up. Maybe a flip reset. They're going to opt for the ceiling. Stokely there to cover. Another clear goes through, but under 2 minutes to go. We're still looking at a similar storyline at Game 1. Boy, are we ever. Another infield to Sino.
The quality is not just the quantity, is it, Taco? It's the quality of attacks that we're seeing put together. Another pass from the left wing into the center. Or sorry, from Bean, I should say, into the center. Sino this time able to put that one home. They've got a great game plan, Silver 2s. It's very much a possession-based style, but they have pace on the transition, and that more than anything is what's catching out Haul in, because as soon as they move up the pitch, they're a little bit slower to move back into their defensive positions. And Silver 2s, with the clinicalness that we've seen, it's no wonder that they're 3-0 up.
And it looks like they're just going to continue on with their presses, but they can't get too far forward as Antix, I think, sensed the danger somewhat. Immediately gets back for the clear. No touch on the first as see a fallen player just kind of blaze on through that one. Tom give away through the middle. Looks like Vin and Stokely patiently waiting. It actually gets a pitch and then red off the ceiling. No matter what can happen, it seems like Silver 2s just know how to handle it.
Antix forced to put this one up onto the backboard. And Haul in, they're sort of watching the ball, but they're not wanting to commit. They'll be hoping to get another one through Stokely, maybe. That was a good read, but Antix was first to the ball. Now Vin wins the race, but that's going to go sideways. They just can't fashion anything comprehensive together. And I speak of the devil, and thou shall appear. Tom, look, it's lovely. It's nice. It's a simple pass through the middle, but you've got to have the finish to put it away. Lovely stuff. 38 seconds on, impossible to come back, Taco.
No, not at all, and especially how quickly that one goes in. Half of the opportunities you see in regular games, or even at the high level, just trying to get these shots off. It's more important to get onto the rebounds quickly rather than the exact touch toward goal on the placement. So that is showing All In with their speed, can use it selectively to break through, and now it's just a matter of really picking apart the puzzle that has been their opponents trying to get through. How do you do it? Maybe send the full house. Third man coming in. A deflection from Tom. He's got to leave it. I like the idea, but where is the finish? It is not present. The clear is, and it looks like with that one last clear, the chances for Holland to make that comeback are dashed.
That's so sad, because I agree. The actual thought process behind that was so sound. But sadly, the one variable that they needed in place for that potential fake to work was the shot had to be on target. And it wasn't. And thus they weren't able to score. And thus they weren't able to potentially force a third off of potential kickoff to potentially take it to it. That's a lot of potentials in there, but Rocket League is a game of plenty of potentials, Taco. And the potential scenario that we face now is a 3-0 sweep, which you got to worry about Hall-In at this stage, because they had not lost a single game up until this point in the tournament. They've now lost 2 on the bounce. They've only scored 1 goal in each of those 2 games. For my money, they've simply got to score more, and maybe that means a few more risks, leaving that defense open a couple more times, but something's got to give somewhere.
And you do mention that aspect of it is, of course, if you are to score more, you really do have to lean more heavily onto offense. And I think when you do have a defense that is pretty solid, you can't really hope for just continuously clearing the ball down, hoping for maybe a more passive touch that you can now chase onto. You really have to start sending people forward, getting in their face, try to stagger challenges so that if it goes past one, the second can send it back in. But the issue is, like everything on a scale, the more you lay into offense, the more weak on the back end you will be. And that has certainly been the struggle for Hall-In, is how do you keep this Silver 2's offense out? Really, the answer for right now is maybe look to the heavens above and hope for some divine intervention, as there really has been so little to be able to stall out the attacks, but they need that help right now from above. Game 3, and the first shot going to them. The rebound not found, but luckily Sino knows exactly where to be to get their touch.
Mystic Meg knew that first shot wasn't going in, knew they were able to save the second shot, and the steamroller through the entire defense means that within 20 seconds, the Silver 2s have yet another go-ahead goal. I think it's going to take more than prayers to save this one, Taco.
And I really got to feel for Stokely. They're trying to play for the shot, but Sino very acutely knows that if they can get so close to that touch, then really the only angle that they will have is to put it directly 90 degrees. Such a difficult touch. They opt for the 50. They will lose that. Well taken from Sino, showing that they're not just pure mechs. They got a lot of brain behind those challenges.
All right. Antics from the midfield line moves forward. Throws it through the corner. There's Bean. Doesn't get a clean hit. Neither really does Sino. That's off the backboard and away into no man's land. Bean eventually ends up with it again. Challenged. Leaves it to Sino. Fakes one. Oh, beautiful play, 2-0.
And when you have plays like this in front of goal, you don't have a lot of pace. You have to think about what the defenders are going through in their mind. Vin goes for a challenge, waiting for the flick. Stokely waiting for that 50 to come through. When none come, he's just sitting down, really twiddling his thumbs. He has no momentum to be able to get the save or the touch. Very much in a short-sighted no man's land. But hold the phone. A kickoff sees some redemption. He'll have to watch it from the afterlife. He got demoed right as he got the shot off, but he had just enough speed to tuck it over to Fender.
I don't know how many prayers they put into the box, but one of them has been answered. That's a freebie, considering the standards that we've seen here today. It's a freebie that they have to run with. I was asking to see at least 2 goals from Hall-In. Well, they're going to need 2 just to take it to overtime, but when you miss a challenge like that, more often than not, you're going to be punished. But thankfully, enough of a Hall-In defense was put up in place there to defend that shot away. Stokely now, again, wins the challenge, wins the race, but loses possession in the meantime. Sino, cool as you like in the midfield line, actually loses that once again to Stokely, all on his own. It's off the post.
You gotta feel bad for Stokely. That is a shot that you really expect them to make, but the problem is they are thinking about not only getting it through the angle, but getting it quickly enough that it doesn't get blocked. They get the first part, but not the second, as you will see. Silver 2s march on down, and Hall-In have no time to hold their heads in despair. They gotta hold them high to see the path forward. Stokely thought it might have been through a flip reset. It will not come to fruition. However, you mentioned the adjustments that they need to make. Hall-In certainly are trying their best. They're getting on these touches, and at the very least, winning 50s to the midfield to continue these pressures.
CRL mode activate! Off the post, now a defensive move. What an important demo from Sino. Vin with the goal at his mercy, taken away from even thinking about getting that shot on target. And this is so much better from Hall-In. I'm really impressed by Silver 2's ability to react to this upping of the pace. Demos, and demos again around the corner. What a save by Stokely now. It's a frenetic pace as the explosives continue.
And we're seeing demos come through, and sometimes it's just about playful aggression. Sometimes it's just about making sure you can assert your dominance in the midfield, but oftentimes it's to disrupt things. They're being used defensively more than anything else from the Silver Twos. Every time Stokely or company tries to slow things down, they're going to get sent to the scrapyard. That is something you do not see often, but it's so important to make sure all of your opponents really take a deep, frustrated sigh and really have to recalibrate their approach every single time. Same with Silver Twos, it's on the ball. Look, these fakes continue to come through. Don't think that opens up enough, though. Sino can only lob one to a defender.
Antics stops it at the midfield line, stops it again, but Tom comes away with possession. Stokely throws it to the corner. Oh, 100 secured. Got to get back in time, though. Sino does so well to navigate his way out of traffic over to the far side of the field. Vin chases, no boost. Double demo in the midfield. It's a power play here. Haul in. It's 3v1 on the defense. Stokely misses. And what a clutch save from Sino yet again.
And sometimes you don't need teammate support. You just need to be able to play your challenge at the right angle. Speaking of, underneath the defenders, Sino shooting 75% lethal from any angle.
It felt like a treadmill. Let's up the level. Let's up the level again. Well, at some point, your feet are not going to be fast enough to keep up. And for Haul-In, that's exactly what happened. I've been so impressed with them in game number 3, but eventually the risk did not pay off. That's a third on the board, but still time to rescue it, Taco. They cannot lose faith now.
And the longer clear is starting to return, as right now you can tell Haul-In wants to move forward, but the biggest thing is that if you want to really press on that scale, you want to have that aggression, it's one thing, but understand all you really need are 2 shots in the next 90 seconds. Just getting the ball is really much harder than the actual task, and there's a reason why. If a player is hungry for goals, you got to keep shoveling food to him.
Yeah, we've been talking biblical, and well, if you want a story, the Red Sea was parted. There was no one at home, the lights were off, and that's a practical stroll in and take what you fancy from Sino 4-1, a repeat scoreline from earlier in this series. Look, Haul-In, I think, going into the lower finals now, they should be confident in knowing that they can match the Silver Twos. On another day, more go their way. On another day, the Silver Twos defense isn't as cracked as it was on this particular occasion. But one thing is for sure, they've made them work now. Silver Twos know that they are fallible, and hopefully that will keep them to the mark as they move into the grand finals, barring any miracles, of course.
Yeah, of course, the miracles are something certainly to speak of, but I would say when a team has played this consistent, I really am very hesitant to ever root against them. Silver Twos have come into this series, and it felt like they had all the answers to the questions Haul-In was asking, and even when they had to improvise, they did so brilliantly, always seeming to get right in their right angle, touch it to the side, not only to get it clear, but to facilitate a counterattack. It seems like everything came together for them, and if you're Haul-In, you want revenge, you're just gonna have to wait another series in order to get it. They will be going, as you say, down to the losers final just for a chance for a rematch, and boy, what a series I'm sure it will be. Certainly anything is better than this one. Silver Twos, it's the final second tick down, will cap off a 3-0 sweep to make grand finals.
You could say that they pie cap off the series.
No,
yes.
absolutely not.
No?
No,
Okay,
I would
fine.
never. I would never.
But I would. I'm not afraid. But as I say, neither should Haul-In. I think that there was enough from game number 3 there that although the scoreline was perhaps a bit of a semi-blowout, I don't think that they should be too worried. They're going to be facing HPU down in the lower bracket now, and their first objective is to take a deep breath, sit back, realize that, okay, that series wasn't how we wanted it to go, but we want to earn ourselves a rematch in those grand finals. We want to at least be the second best team in this tournament, if not the best, and maybe a bit of momentum regained from that lower bracket will be exactly what the doctor ordered. But HPU, they themselves, they got put into the lower bracket in the first place. They want that redemption tour. They want to complete it in the upper bracket with the grand finals.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, this might be a preview of what we can expect in Grands, but sometimes you really just have to figure out how it's going to go, because the twists and turns in a tournament like this, the Pi Kappa Phi Rocket League Trios tournament, I'm really sure anything could happen, and I'm sure really excited to see how all of that is going to transpire as we get into that lower finals in the other half of this break relic.
You know, it just gave me a whole new perspective on everything, and my whole family, which was kind of against fraternity as well. Once they heard everything that PiCap did and the ability experience brought to the table, their whole perspective changed, and they love PiCap now.
I'm super excited to travel the country, as well as building unforgettable relationships with the different brothers around the country.
I am closer with my national brothers than I am my own chapter brothers, and so getting to experience this with so many others has been probably the greatest experience of my entire life, and I will cherish and remember this forever.
Welcome back, friends, to the Kapp Gaming Rocket League Trios, where we've just witnessed All-In falling to the lower bracket thanks to the Silver 2s in a 3-0 sweep fashion. Relic joined by Taco, Uni on the production, and on top of that, we should talk to you a little bit about an upcoming tournament. Registration live via the Kapp Gaming website for some Call of Duty Warzone. That's going to be heading your way December 4th, so should you fancy some shooties of the weaponry kind as opposed to the Rocket League ball kind, then that is certainly the place to go. Take a little look at that, and maybe we will see you there. Right, HPU, what should we be expecting here? Because for All-In, they're perhaps going to be a little bit demoralized, but the quality is still there to see them through to the grand finals.
Yeah, right now, if you are on the side of Holland, you have to think in your mind that you are destined to be able to go for it. You feel like you've been going through, not only have you been going through the upper bracket, but you've been really doing it without dropping any games up until that last one. So it's going to hurt, say like, now we have to really dig ourselves out. But at the very least, you were not HPU, which really had been drilling through a lot of teams in the lower bracket. They've gone through quite the gauntlet here. So certainly they do have the mettle to withstand all these different squads and obviously the adjustments that come with each individual matchup, as I think a lot of Rocket League is really almost this alchemist type combination. You have to really adjust to every team. Every team really plays differently against every new matchup. So I think it shows that they certainly do have the flexibility, but whether or not that results in HPU to actually step up to the side of Holland is another story. So I think it's really a test of a somewhat fallen team from the upper bracket feeling like they were destined for something and having to fight against those hurt feelings, and another team that has really clawed their way here and they're hungry to continue.
Speaking of chemistry, perhaps let's react to the bracket once again and take particular interest in HPU's route to where they are right now. Of course, the lower finals. 2-0 against the Rump Chumps. 2-1 against Is This the New MW? Once again, the Warzone tournament happening December 4th, folks. They, of course, dropped from the lower, or from the upper bracket, I should say, before this point, where, funnily enough, Taco, they lose to Silver 2's 2-0. Hence why I think, without a shadow of a doubt, Silver 2's now the favorites to go on and win this tournament, as if their top finals performance wasn't enough. But yeah, HPU then, I think there's not too much really to read into that bracket, apart from the fact that they did lose one game on their run to this point, besides from dropping into the lower bracket in the first place.
Yeah, and I think that's an important thing to recognize, is understanding that this team is getting sub-sweeps, but also sometimes taken to the brink, and so I'm not entirely sure if that's just them trying to find their footing, but also, this is also the interesting part of the bracket, because sometimes when you get into these brackets, your first games are normally the ones where you have to get the jitters out, and you have to figure out, if you don't play as much with your teammates, and you play with other players instead, that how does this all work together, what are the roles that we need to fulfill, and then as you get farther in the bracket, I think that really forms in, everyone's warmed up, and now we're at the stage of the bracket where you have to think about fatigue. You've been playing for a couple hours now. How do you manage all of these stresses that come with playing at a high level for so long, and can you keep it going? Can you sustain your level of performance just a little bit longer to get into the grand finals? Because this is the loser final. If you can win this one, you can play for the big prize right after.
It's time to clear the throats, because it's time to talk over some more Rocket League. Another best of 5 on the way. All-In versus HPU, both looking for the right to return to the upper bracket and take place in the grand final. Of course, it's effectively a $150 match, the loser going home with said amount. And that was an excellent early look for HPU, denied away by the All-In defense.
Oh, but only temporarily. I like that side touch, and oh my goodness, nearly going all the way down. Tam Candelaro had to get back all the way to be able to get that touch and set right back through by ZJ Cal. So HPU changing up the pace, testing this defense with a long touch, and even better than that, they're acing the final, getting the rebound. Volsers for 1.
Is it Volsers or is it a volcano? Because they erupted into the final third. And they weren't really dealt with. It's Fluffy B. Vamos, he says in chat. They are hyped, and they are ready to trash talk by the looks of it. And maybe another side of the mental game that we have yet to touch upon. We'll see whether that continues, certainly. But either way, HPU, that's exactly the sort of start that they were looking for. It's exactly what All-In weren't looking for. But Stokely looking to change the tides of fate. Double tap 1-1.
He's just so good, and this shows exactly why. You don't need a lot of space. You just need enough boost to get back to it. Slam down, and even right in front of the defender. It looks like their fingertips, or the front bumper, rather, was scraping against the pixels of the ball, but not enough to actually keep it out. That's one way to make a response.
Gotta love the in-chat response from Vin as well, the lowercase Vamos. You want to play that way? Then we're going to throw it right back in your face. Gotta love the banter between these two teams, and what a start to this series. May very well be a little bit more competitive than what the series scoreline suggested of our upper finals, as this ball's going to be left to its own devices for a little bit. Moves into the blue half of the field. ZJ Cal will be denied by Stokely. Misses that second touch that he was looking for. Bit of poor momentum here, though. Nonetheless for Hall-in. Denied. Vin by Fluffy B. Tries to go back in for more. Here's Stokely on the return. The pop-up hits the backboard. Got limited boost. He might have had a chance there. A bit of a wayward touch. Back in once again, and that defense holds.
And that's a splendid read by ZJ Cal, and that is not easy by any means. That ball that high is meant to be confusing by its very nature, but that's why you can always have a response from a different path. We're not going all the way to the backboard. Who needs it when he can flip reset like Stokely?
He stokes the fires. And look at that, a little bit of a touch actually off one of the defenders. Might very well have taken it away from his two teammates, but when you see someone of that quality in front of net, there is bound to be a little bit of panic. And although not a triple commit, Taco, the effects, sadly for HPU, were the same.
And that's the problem, is that your defense can be fantastic, but it cannot always be leak-proof. If you allow certain amounts of space, sometimes people will launch themselves right into it. Stokely not anticipating a miss from his teammate, and the miss from HPU is going to come through, as it will not be able to creep between the posts. Stokely able to recover, slapping one back to the midfield. That's got to hurt for HPU. Not going to have luck on their side.
Over here, it was it's just gone past. I say just gone past. It's been a week past November 5th, but bit of a fireworks display watcher there, watching the ball eventually end up off the post and not predicting that it might very well come off the post and it might need that second touch to come in. It's just a little bit of naivety there from Volsters. That was a good opportunity to tie the scoreline.
And when you do have those opportunities, you can't let it hang your head. Really just try to laugh it off. I think there's certainly, as he said, the banter around these two teams, but maybe there can be a little bit of levity as they are still very much in this matchup, and maybe he can even get the lead right here, as they had a lead blocker, but I think the pass was the intention from Volsters, no one to receive.
Here he is again. At least made his way back, redeemed himself a little bit. Stokely with a little boost. Infield pass, looking for a recipient. No one at home. Now on the retreat, Volsters, that's an open net. Oh, Hall-in, lacking communications. You wanted just one of those people to get on the end of the ball. Neither of them did. Both committed an egregious error, which ties our game.
It's one thing to get beaten as a second man, but it's another thing to be beaten as both a second and third. Communication is so key, but sometimes when you're playing a game as quick, as fast-paced as Rocket League, you will have moments in which you really just have to go with your instinct, and sometimes those thoughts will overlap with your mates. 2-2, all to play for in the final 90 seconds. I love the infield pass. It's not fast enough to really get rid of the concerns as Hall-in was closing through. It will now a deep clear for Tom to maybe create out of back pass down, but would immediately be snuffed out.
Loose ball yet again. Oh, that's not the best touch from Fluffy B. Going to secure the 100 boost. Here's Vin round the corner. Tom flying in at a rate of knots. Denied. Fluffy B. Oh, nice fake round Vin. It's just Stokely in net. Tries to lift it over Stokely. No way through. Stokely looking for that quick response. Straight towards Volsters. Picks up the save. Vin heading to the backboard. ZJ Cal, lovely bit of play there. Off to the side, out of danger. But still, the attack wave arrives. Oh, another double commit from Hall-in. They've got to stop this. That was a great drive that's basically come to nothing because of their own actions. Oh,
but the infield nearly gets amended for. Can't go through. The putback is even quality, but Stokely looks like they have enough around it to get the clear. Still on the prowl. HPU, Fluffy, tap down. A bit awkward, but will be dealt with temporarily. High into the ceiling, bouncing down, and another clear coming through from Vin. HPU deflection onto the near post. Can they get back to it? Yes, indeed. Just in time. 50 to follow through, but very much still in the danger area. Tom not leaving it alone, and neither is Hall-in. They're able to crash the net, get their lead with 13 ticks to go.
HPU, now the architects of their own downfall. There was a moment there where I, like for like, replicated the blinking meme where I'm like, excuse me, is somebody going to pick that up or not? And because they were so late to their own defensive clearances, it allowed Hall In to essentially put together another attacking charge, which this time did bear fruits. This time, it did give themselves a goal. Tom, I think, with his first goal, I want to say, of 2 matches, because I don't think he actually scored, did he, in the last series? So, a great confidence booster for him, a great confidence booster for the team in general. Closer, perhaps, than they would have liked. Plenty of mistakes across both sides, but the dub is the most important thing at the end of the day, and that is what Hall In have to their advantage.
And I think things like that are so crucial to be able to get your victory, but in the way that it happened, I don't think there was really any complacency of teams coming through, but there was that moment where it's really both teams, I think, in a lot of game ones, really recline back. They're not quite in, I would say, assuming the gamer position with really leaning forward all the way locked into their matches. Sometimes they just have to sit back and say, what can you offer up? I think HPU was showing quite a lot to the side of Hall, and they were not ready for a certain number of attacks, and if not for the post coming to the rescue, that game one could have ended very differently. Holland needs to be on really the top of their awareness. They had a couple double commits, they had a couple post saves, and they were still able just to eke out a victory. They need to be much more decisive as we head into game 2.
Yeah, there were no foreheads on show, of course, no cameras here at the Kapp Rocket League Gaming Trios, but a couple of 5-head moments that could be cleaned up, I think, across both sides. And that means that both sides have room for improvement, which as a caster, as someone who enjoys watching Rocket League, I love seeing that sort of a progression throughout a series. Already another double commit from Hall In. Get away with it because HPU weren't willing to press the pressure here. AJ Cal with some nice control. Gets demoed, but gets it over the halfway line. Here's Stokely now, the boomer towards the backboard, going wide. Maybe looking to face up to it himself. It's a shot. It's off the backboard. It's closed down by Zin. Still Hall In with a chance, but looks like they have to return to their own half a boost.
And actually, just the delicate little touches from HPU are getting them out of some pickles, but some even more precise touches, finesse downfield from Stokely, are going to cause all the trouble. Actually, with a lead block, he's going to be unselfish, leaving it to Tom. Another goal for the cause.
That's a lot of accolades that popped up in the top right corner. Speaking of top corner, oh, he could not have hit that any more perfectly. Clinks in off the inside of the post and bar. Some would say unsavable taco. I would say excellent. Early lead for Hall In.
And I really do like that play from Stokely. They know that they've really struck the fear into the defense by getting that air dribble. And the moment the defense backs off, they realize if they're playing for my shot, I'm going to have to change things up. Going for the bump instead. Still a lot to do. Tom does it so well, as you mentioned, not getting on the score sheet too often in the previous series, but now really showing their performance out on that one. Nearly another player, Vin, getting on the score sheet, but players from HPU able to position themselves correctly, get another save, and they're very much the ones backpedaling at the start of game 2. So I will say the adjustments certainly are in from Holland. Now just to see if it carries through on their defense as well. Volsers, no redirect.
HPU really struggling with these clearances against the run of play, Taco. That's at least what I'm noticing here, which is definitely something that they weren't struggling with in game number 1. And it's all down to Hall In. They're giving HPU moments to break out of their own shell, mostly because they need to go back for a bit of boost themselves. Staying safe rather than sorry, rotating within their own means rather than throwing hell to high water and going for the risks themselves. Fluffy B. Oh my goodness. But when you give the ball to a player and he's feeling full of his boots, magic like this happens.
Well, they're college students for a reason. They're incredibly smart and can analyze things when they need to happen and how. And how about this one? Triple fake through the defense. Everyone playing for the flick. They're looking for the fast play, but sometimes slow and steady. They're going to race that ball right into the back of the net. What a way to equalize. Right before halftime, both teams and their opponents looked like a fool at times. So quite the battle we have really constructed for ourselves here in this lower final.
Seems cliche, but we got a series on our hands, and we've only hit halftime in game number 2. Infield, dealt with, not dealt with, oh, not dealt with at all! Volsers utilizing his own goal mouth to great effect there. Away it goes to the side, and Hall In once again. This sort of brief moment of reprieve that they're giving HPU. That said, they've all pressed up as a unit here. They've allowed HPU possession of the ball once again when it was loose. To the side goes Tom. Infield pass. Fluffy. Oh, great defense from Stokely. 1-1 it remains.
We'll see another long hit down, and I do like the bump attempt you see from Tom, but not going to be able to connect with his target. Finn dispossessed off the side wall. Actually, a lot of space for Tom. They're going to try to, I think, pass that down, but ultimately I think that might have also been a mishit. So either way, ZJ Cal will have time to set up, or so I think. A jump scare. Who says Rocket League doesn't have horror elements? Still could come out of nowhere to shut that down, and now maybe kickstart something for a haul in. There's Vin. He can't get the contact. Stokely with time, but he can't wrangle the touch.
He's got to buy as much time as possible. He's got the 100 boost, and so fast. What a peddler there, denying CJ Cal from moving any further. Now HPU. Close, but not close enough there. Tom, oh, what a little deft touch to the side too. Getting its way round the on-rushing attacker is Stokely, and that's fallen kindly. CJ Cal's got the goal mouth right in front of him, but whoa, Fluffy. A bit of a miscontrol there. It was a shot, but it was a weak one, and Hall in, I would say, get away with it, Taco. Should be 2-1.
And that's exactly the phrasing that you should be using, but it's so hard to get away from the terror that is Fluffy B. Look at them dominating on the ground game, knowing they don't have an angle, but if they wait long enough, they can create one of their own. Vin not ready for it. Dunked up and over. HPU showing that you don't always need to brute force your way through. It's just trying to find those tactical angles and take the challenges that most benefit you.
But when you're so close to your own goal mouth, you've got to sometimes brute force your way out. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more proactivity there from Vin on the goal line. The whole reason that that challenge is lost is because he's standing still. His opponent has got momentum behind the ball, behind the car. HBU with a much-deserved 2-1 lead, I would say. Hallin have had their opportunities. They have spurned them. And there's only 35 seconds now to try and rescue a situation that might very well confirm a game 4 from this best of 5.
We can see a couple of rollers coming across,
Oh,
but
Phoebe.
actually, as I say that, it's wide open on the near, and yet somehow Fluffy gets a save. The backflip through. He's not going to be credited, but very much instrumental in that final touch. Might have even rescued the game for him, but they still have to get a couple more clears, potentially. One over the top, the doink to the crossbar, and then a deflection to the sidewall to boot. Stokely
No way.
from a distance, top shelf. Put away, Vin keeping it alive only temporarily. Stokely trying to answer a prayer, but there are no one to hear it. HPU holding on until the very last touch.
And you gotta feel sorry for Hall in there. All the composure of a diamond that's being threatened with demotion to platinum. Oh, you've got to, in that moment, when the ball remains up, not think about the forward flip, but the doink upwards. Keep it airbound, because especially with a player like Stokely on your side, he can make something with that, but you've got to buy the time for him. Gotta say, great respect to HPU there. They had a lot of fire thrown towards their net, and to have doused it so successfully and to find opportunities themselves, which they put away. Look, it's game 4 confirmed at the very least. But the way that this series is going, I wouldn't be surprised about a game 5 at all. Still mistakes yet to be creased out.
Yeah, and sometimes when you do have these situations, which is a close game, the players will try and make sure that you are just rotating all the way back, playing almost that prevent style defense. Just make sure you have as many people stacked in front of the net, potentially even just to get the box all stacked up. And we'll see how that one works out, as it looks like players were not ready to join the lobby quite yet, as we're having some shenanigans enter into the arena. So we'll be waiting to see really the admin response from this one, as we will likely have to restart that one. But either way, I think both teams may be forgetting that you only have a minute between games to discuss the strategy. And I suppose that is a move. If you need a little more, just leave the lobby.
It might also be a lobby issue, potentially. Whatever the issue is, I'm not exactly sure who it might actually end up benefiting both teams. Usually you say, oh, well, there's a bit of a break here, it's going to break the momentum of the team who's winning 2 in a row, or oh, it might help the team that's a little bit under the cosh here, gives them a chance to talk it over. But really, for both of these teams, I think there are some really clear and evident points as to where things need to go a little more right, and where the enemy team is having a little bit too much joy. Just looking at HPU last game, we saw and pointed out quite rightly that their clearances were a lot less successful. The only clearances that they were getting were through the reprieves given to them by their opposition in Hall-In, and yet what they were able to do with those reprieves was a lot more threatening and ultimately produced a lot more rewards than what we saw from the sustained pressure that came out from Hall-In. So a lot to dissect there for both teams, and it's going to be interesting to see how they utilize this break to maybe adapt or even not adapt going forward.
Yeah, and I think that's the question that a lot of players have to have is, in my opinion, I think if you have a play style that works for you and in the defense of your opponents are not actually working out that continuously or consistently, then you just keep on using it until they are forcing themselves to adjust to what you're giving. However, I also think, going back to that mental point that you had pointed out, that I think perspective is really the key crux of your success there. If you are able to get a victory, it's one thing to say, yes, we have them on the ropes, we just got to keep on going, we got to keep on drilling. But another thing is to say, hey, yes, we got a victory, and yes, we should be excited. Keep the energy going, keep the comms very positive, jokey, bantery, as we saw at the beginning of game one, but also zoom out and understand that that was a one-goal game. If there was a couple of shots went a little bit differently for Haul In, could have seen an equalizer or maybe even a loss from their side. So with these extra time, as we remake the lobbies, get the players all into it, we are able to now see whether or not every team can take a deep breath, the heart rate can go down, maybe the adrenaline can fade somewhat, and you can focus on a bit more rational approach into game 3 to see who can take the lead and move on to match point for a chance to go to Grands.
Well, break time is over. The tuck shop is closed and the school bell is ringing. It's time to get back into class as game number 3 will be underway very soon. A reminder, of course, that we've got ourselves a Call of Duty Warzone tournament. That's going to be taking place December 4th. Be sure to check out the Kapp Gaming website for more information on that. But do that after this series, of course, as we are indeed back into things, and it looks like, yes, so we are going to just confirm it is still 1-1. We're not going back to the beginning of the series, but it is, as my friend Danny Boy would say, or would rather hate to say, I should say, a best of 3 now. It is effectively a best of 3. First 2 wins.
Yes, and with both these teams getting their victories, I think they understand what has worked and what hasn't, and sometimes it's really just how the ball tends to bounce down the stretch of a game, kind of like this one. That touch not going to be cleared away. Fluffy allowed to get away from him. Stokely keeping everything in the control of their squad with these light touches, and same with ZJ Cal. They can only just keep this touch up. I'm fairly certain there's no mutators. Feels like it's a beach volleyball just continuously getting set up in the air. Now where is the spike? Volser's trying to provide it into the top shelf for 1.
Stokely does everything right here except actually getting a touch on the ball. Perhaps predicted it, I would argue, a little too well. He was expecting the shot to bump off Volser's car a little earlier than it actually did. So credit to Volsers for just hesitating a bit, knowing that Stokely was perhaps on the way. It's why good audio perception is certainly an extra element that Rocket League players or Rocket League fans might not necessarily be totally aware of. 1-0 HPU, and on the attack once again.
They can try and forge forward and try to see if maybe you can catch Haul In somewhat stumbling over themselves, as I agree with you that Stokely almost predicted things too well, but that's why change up of pace is so crucial. An expert in that is Fluffy. Another slight touch. Doesn't really look that hard to save, but it still has 2 defenders flailing out to get it away. ZJ Cal from the near side. Stokely taking no chances, slaps it all the way to the far side.
He is again. Got lots of boost, 1v1, but the angle betrays him a little bit, misses out on the ball entirely. And HBU looking for a quick transition here. Tom gives up possession. That's straight towards net. It's straight into the net. It's an OG. 2-0 HBU.
So unfortunate from Stokely. You have to guess at a certain point, as Tom, I think, is maybe playing for a 50 or at least just getting past 1, but it goes right into Volsers and then right into Stokely. That is so difficult to touch, and I can't really blame, as you say, the OG for going in, but right now, the main thing that they need to focus on is how to make sure that number stays where it is. A kickoff goal gonna nearly deflect in for 3, but instead, it's a counterattack for 1. Haul In right back in it.
Stokely, he can't stop scoring. He scored in his own net, and right down the other side, he still drives fear into the hearts of opposition players. Lovely placement, great power behind it. I would have been worried had it been 3-0 HBU. I think that might have been irrecoverable, but Haul In immediately back into the picture book. Their story has yet to finish.
And Fluffy will try and just slowly build this one up. That is a pattern, I think, that is very much the style of HPU, trying to make sure that every touch has someone either who starts the play or a teammate who's trying to continue it to be able to get the touch first off. And I think the patient build-up is something that I can appreciate. It's good to be intermixed with a longer touch because it causes clears like that, not out of the half. CJ Cal crashing the net, and for good reason. It was open for him to take the reward, 3-1.
What a tee shot from Fluffy there. Beautifully taken, and ZJ Cal's got the entire net at his mercy. Actually does really well. There was a nice reading run, utilizing, of course, that top shelf of the goal mouth to try and come in and meet the ball. He manages to slice it in between both player and crossbar. Whether he meant to do it or not, I'm not going to debate, but he did do it. That's really impressive. And that daylight goal, 2-goal lead, HBU looking strong still. They're going to have to try and find another one as that falls right down the other side of the pitch. Surely a goal. Oh, no. Oh, feels bad. Backflip. That was a chance for 4.
It was a chance, but sometimes the angle gets in your head more than anything else. Fluffy with a 50. How about a 100? Getting every pixel of that ball. It's going to fly right into an open net. HBU starting to set into cruise control.
It's just a good win. It's just a really solid win in the midfield, and Hallin not able to deal with it. The woes of defense becoming more and more apparent as HBU become more and more confident. Volsa's going up for a read like that doesn't come off, but the fact that he's even attempting to go for it shows me everything I need to know about the body language, about the vibes running through the HBU camp. They know that they're just 2 game wins away from setting up a date in the grand finals, from securing at least $300. It is a big amount of money to go home with.
Yeah, and making sure that you can get in the money is always so important, but I would say the way that they're playing right now, HPU is more focused on whether or not they can take first or second. They seem destined to get in, but hold the phone. Tom is a demon on the back post, but who else to start it than Stokely, just getting to it in time and angling it flawlessly.
That is an underrated run from Tom as well. You've got to time that perfectly to be able to get not just to get the ball into the back of the net in the first place, but to escape the detection of defenders. They were all so worried about what Stokely was going to do. So overall, great goal from Hallin. They've still got 90 seconds to find another 2. Maybe it'll start here with Stokely. Hits the backboard, finds the second touch. Oh, and Fluffy does well to readjust. That was a difficult read to make.
And it's sometimes that you really just have to get anything and hope for the best. And that save, as you mentioned, had a lot of obstacles in the way, preventing you from success. As I say that, Fluffy trying to feather the boost, and sometimes you just gotta hold the trigger down, my friend.
Hey, HBU fans, how you feeling? Hold down the trigger indeed. He was trying to be so cute about it, wasn't he? Perhaps a little too much confidence on this occasion, and it costs his team big, but not dearly. They still hold that 1 goal advantage, but Hallin, the motors are revving up. The gears are being gone through, and they themselves have got to be careful as well, Danger Taco, because they don't want to oversell themselves. At the same time, they can't be playing around for too long. That goal is crucial to take them to overtime.
And this is where we talk about really the whole spectrum of a series, and you talk about sometimes you really have to have that mental fortitude to not tilt, but sometimes you have to talk about the intra-game mental. Right now, how do you stay composed with 35 seconds remaining? I suppose HB will show us as they're going to continue the attack. Maybe the best defense is continued offense. That first one turned away, though.
A lot of time burn. 30 seconds. Oh, giving up so freely. Here's Tom. The flick over Fluffy. His teammate there to throw to the side. Demo on Fluffy. Bump on ZJ, who does not care. He gets his way to the halfway line, but look at that. That's a goal, potentially. Oh, my word. Fluffy B yet again. Captain Clutch on the line.
Stokely is not going to be content with that one. That's why Tom is trying to keep things going. Deflection into Stokely, keeping it alive to the far side. A player bit in, and everyone else is chasing from HPU. Vin needs a double. He's not going to find it, but everyone leaves it. The close call there. I thought they were waiting for a 50, but in fact, they couldn't even reach it. They are so lucky Holland didn't get there, but despite all that, they're able to get everything to go forward. And I will say, incredibly well done from the side of Hallin, but it's just still not enough. They fell too far behind too early in.
Inaction can sometimes be the most decisive action, not just in that particular moment. But like I was saying earlier, with a minute left to run, they give possession over, and HPU burns half of that clock. And ultimately, I feel like that is where the game was lost for this team, and now they are on the precipice of falling out of the tournament completely. They got to win 2 on the bounce, otherwise they are gone. $150 already secured, so they've done a good job, but no team is in any tournament just to get 3rd place. You want to be the best of the very best, and HPU, well, they are 1 step closer, of course, on match point scenario.
And when you do have those situations where you're able to endure through a game, I think there's 2 ways you can handle it. You can either really take a deep breath and say, man, we really need to fix X, Y, and Z. But I think also another aspect of this is just taking a laugh and figuring out how to deal with everything. Maybe another way to deal with it is to I suppose, prank your friends, pull out an Ethernet cord. We have a little bit of disconnect here as we're trying to really amend for this yet again, as Vulsers will leave the match for reasons we do not know. We can only speculate so much. Maybe, and I don't know, this has happened in other tournaments. You leave a window open, bird flies in, steals your monitor. Happens all the time. Sometimes you just gotta disconnect from the game and hope for the best. And, I don't know, chase down that bird.
Game glitched out, bird stole the monitor, dog eat your
Classic.
homework. It's all one and the same, isn't it? They all really do happen, though. We do promise. But it does mean that, once again, it's a bit of a stop-start series. And the last time that we saw this sort of break, it really benefited HPU in the long run. I worry so much for Hall in here, because as much as they've got Stokely being this great player, even he has not been infallible over the course of this series. There's been a couple of mistouches, a couple of misreads, and the worry which I have with players like him, I mean, if I was to look to the RLCS, I'd go to players like Cash, Archie, for example, Squishy Muffin sometimes, where it feels like they want to put the entire weight of the world on their shoulders. They know that they've got such great ability that they can turn a game on their own, but in doing so, they try too hard, and that almost counterbalances. It almost goes against their team, because rather than working together as a unit, it's sort of one player off on their own, the other two players just trying to stay afloat in the water, and eventually all three of them drown.
Yeah, that's a critical thing to really keep in mind, is really how much all of this is dependent on all the teams trying to play so cohesively. As we saw, a lot of times we will have these moments where one player will just bust everything through. Fluffy B had that brilliant triple fake into the loft over the third, getting the goal, really undoing all the defense. But other than that, it's really been continued follow-ups. Very rarely do we see the first shot just kind of sailing through. Stokely really being the only prime example of a solo play going through. You need to make sure the first player really weakens the defense, and the rest of them are the battering rams to be able to really shatter the walls, get you your lead. That is not a prime example of it. Fluffy B maybe getting that touch away from them as it'll roll for a long clear for Holland to maybe kickstart their first attack, but not if Volsus has something to say about it.
Another one for your cliche bingo cards, folks. You're only as good as your weakest player on the day. And that is so true a statement in Rocket League. If you've got just one part of your triad which is slightly under the weather, slightly behind the play at all, you are going to pay for it eventually. Of course, no punishment as of yet, as HPU reload the weaponry, shoot it back towards that backboard. Stokely with the flip away, nice turnaround, loses out on the 100 boost, a bit of hesitation, joined by Vin, stumbling over each other. Oh, and Volsers needing to get a piece of that one. Tom snuffed.
I think when you do look at Tom, the thing you had mentioned earlier is they have had some spectacular reads, and the one thing that has really emerged about them that has impressed me is the positioning. Understanding that they don't have to really force the issue, they have to crash the net and make sure everything is going topsy-turvy. Just make sure you're able to foment the chaos seen by your teammates, and then be able to sit back and maybe collect wherever that ball will land in the future. Certainly someone I'm going to keep my eye on as the series progresses, I suppose. Should also keep an eye on Vin. The defense certainly did. That near post shot nearly finding its way through.
Ooh, passing play, cherry pick, ricochets back to where it came from here, the orange side of the field, and Volsers puts it up, doesn't really clear it, eventually goes over Vin, not going to make his way past Stokely. Fluffy B denied by Tom. Vin with the pop-up, gives it away. Stokely with the bigger pop-up. Not the same result. Here he is again onto the end of his own pass. A demo as well on a big miss from Tom. Once again left Vin way too late to the party. Forgot his wallet in his own home perhaps, but still, no goals scored. Taco, a nervy affair for both sides.
Yeah, and you're starting to see the development. It's much less vertical. It is much more horizontal as the game has developed. A lot of touches going from side to side and trying to just get these 50s off. No one really wants to bite too aggressively into any of these challenges. It won't help that Hall-In is certainly going to try and loft some touches through. ZJ Cal gets the first. Fluffy gets the continuation. The touch on ball, but at least a boost steal will help up until Tom gets the ball through. Into the corner we go. ZJ Cal on near post and is needed to get that touch. It will combine with Fluffy for an absolute cannon of a clear. And then maybe a continuation. Can't get the first into the back post for the second.
It's really turned into opposite day, where we've gone from not caring about the mistakes to caring too much about the mistakes. No one wanting to make that crucial error that might allow an opposition player or even their own player to put it into their own net. Less than 2 minutes now. Still nervy. Still worrying for both sides. A lot on the line. Hall-in to take it to game 5. HBU to close out the series in 4. Fluffy. Snuffed. Up it goes. Stokely completely misreads. Here's Tom. Picks it up to flick onto the backboard, but no one willing to commit immediately for that shadow strike. Nice transition here from HBU. Is going to reach the opposition backboard, but Stokely's there to throw it back into the orange half.
And CJ is going to take for a catch, but it comes almost too far around, and they're going to pay for their for really the patience taking on that one with a demo. And on the near side, Vin might have been just trying to beat the first defender. They had to beat the post too, and they could not get it done. Like the creativity there, and it's something that HBU has been slowly learning more and more. You gotta always be aware, even from downtown. Stokely taking out the scope, and they're gonna rifle one in the back of the net from mid.
It's one of the lesser in terms of quality, but I've got to give a good shout out to Tom here. Going with the ball, basically throwing an extra body into the path of that shot to say, hey, if you want to get to this ball, you've got to get through me. It's a really nice idea, unneeded in the end, but Hall-in, that is a massive moment in this series. Another challenge one. Finn turns around looking for the second touch, isn't going to find it.
Yeah, we'll see Tom backpedaling, trying to keep them in this again. Hall-in needs another goal, I would say, to just steady the nerves, but at least in terms of absolute necessity, they're fine with just one to be able to advance into game 5. That shot coming through from Vin. Be a bit over-eager to not read the angles. Now Volsers trying to combine with Fluffy, but Stokely is not a man for subtle challenges. Goes in very boldly to get that first touch away. Now, how can his teammates adjust from this? The in and out save, earning style points. Where do they get the confidence to go for that?
Tom Candeloro, what a save! As close as one could get, and we've seen a couple of those today. Vin with another miss. Oh, they've got to be careful. Vin's had a couple of those in a row. Maybe the nerves getting to him. That's a nice bit of time burning here as it hits the backboard, and it lingers. It doesn't sit kindly for HBU. It doesn't sit kindly for ZG Cal. That's going to hit the floor. We're going to game 5.
And that right there is why Hall-in has been able to go so far. They have a lot of skill, but the depth apparently is also there. I got so worried. I'm thinking at Tom in the back of the net on this one. I'm like, of all the ways to throw your lead, but no, not only gets the save, but able to just get enough on it, keep it on the goal line. Teammates able to fully slap that one to the side, and it will be enough to get them to that game 5. So they've had to scrape and claw, but HBU, as we had mentioned, you have to make sure that you adjust game to game, and right now they are on a bit of a slide here. Game 5, and in a way like that, such a debilitating loss as you were literal pixels away from getting your equalizer, but instead now you have to face a brand new 5 minutes with a team that looks like they have really found a role for every individual player on the pitch.
Now, see, we saw a moment of complacency in game 3, you might remember, with Fluffy not actually getting a touch on the ball, almost invited Hall-in to win game number 3 in the end. This time around, it looked like HBU was showing a little bit too much respect. With that respect, it's got to leave the building because Stokely, Hall-in, they've got an early opener.
And a nice kickoff kill as Fluffy is able to get that touch, but that is why you want to send a player up, because sometimes if the ball deflects, it's nice to have someone in the backfield, but if it stays where it is, you're really going to have to play for that shot. Everyone scattered to the wind and parted to the corners, and it's just as simple as that. The only set piece in Rocket League can sometimes yield some easy goals coming through. That one, not so easy as Tom's lob. Going to be easily turned away, but how about the putback? Stokely double, but can't angle it correctly.
Here's Vin, waylays the boost, I should say, and doesn't come to anything as HBU wrap up possession again. Is Stokely looking for the backboard. Volsa reads a save. I don't even think that was going on target, but hey, again, can be generous sometimes. Oh, bumping run. Still able to get a piece of it. Tom Candeloro again, crucial on defenses. We're still not going to reach that halfway line. Good pressure here from HBU as AJ Cal loses out. Vin with another miss, starting to mount up now for Vin as they're going to want to keep a watchful eye on that one. Oh, booming clearance. That's exactly what Hall-in were looking for.
Yeah, ZJ Cal's trying to just get it out, but this is good coverage, as you can see, by Hall-in. Understanding that ball is really have to go either from the ground or up on the wall. They get the first touch away, but you need to make sure they get the reads of their own. Stokely actually did anticipate it maybe being a change-up of a play, but too slow for them. Vin will not have any similar issues. They do get the touchdown, and now it's to contend with Volsers. A little bit of ball chasing, 2-on-1. Fluffy might be able to put that one over the bar. Is there a follow? Yes, but from Stokely, they're everywhere in the pitch, keeping their goal clean and maybe adding one, but can't race down on the midfield shell.
Head empty, right trigger down at all times. You're going to live and learn on instinct if you're Stokely. Not necessarily putting on the cape and trying to be a hero, but just doing as much as he can to cover those gaps that are starting to appear in his teammates' rotations. There's Tom yet again. What a glow up in the series for him, as that's on target. Saved away by Fluffy, straight to his teammate here, but navigating his way around it. It's Stokely once again, so much boost. Gets the flip reset, doesn't matter, it hits the backboard. Where's the follow-up shot? Here it is, it's denied, it's away. Here's Stokely once more. Infield pass is actually turned into a shot. Fluffy B with a savior medal, and we're not even at half time.
And now look at the combination start to come through. Bolsters think they might have wanted to follow that one through, but with no boost and a heavy touch mid, not able to do so. Stokely putting it across. Vin not quite ready for it. Deflection does not necessarily spell disaster quite yet, as everyone on Haul In is able to take that deep breath, and now send one deep down on the far side. Stokely ready to strike, but over the bar. Vin keeping it competitive, and there's Tom to keep things going. How much boost does HPU have?
Oh!
Apparently, the answer is not enough. Tom, always the one in the right position, and none better than that one right at the stroke of halftime. Haul In as a second.
Oh, what a character arc. Fluffy B there once again, just taking a little bit too much time to decide what he was going to do. Maybe looking to be a little bit cute, get a touch on it, knowing that Tom was on his way. Turns out he didn't even get to make the touch because Tom had won the race. That's 2-0. That's daylight breaking. That's impressive for Haul In, who almost get a third. Now right down the other end. Oh, it's an overcommit. And Tom's not going to be able to save this one. ZG Cal 2-1.
And that is how simplistically things can really unwind. Stokely goes up for a ball. It is slightly off on the read. The third is looking to crash, and that is why when you have a lead, you have to be so economical about how you use your boost, how aggressive you want to go for these touches, and how far up the field you want to go, because sometimes one miss is all it takes for you to be a bit too far up, and a simple lob over the top is all that is required. Now, how about the counterattack? That looked like it has some promise, but the touch was not there. Off backboard with a demo to lead the way. Looked like there was an opening, but Haul In doing much better as the series has progressed at getting these touches away. How about putting them away? Vin not putting it between the sticks.
They're trying to control the 100 boost game here, Haul In. They're trying to deny HBU the opportunity to go aerial themselves. It's the simple things being done right, and ZG Cal does what he has to throw that ball to the side. Stokely up, back into the center. Is anyone going to get it? Yes, they are, Tom. It goes high. Stokely keeps it slow. 90 seconds left now, and Haul In are balancing this game on a knife edge. Taco, they're trying to be aggressive, but they can't afford for one moment to think that HBU won't get that monster clear. They won't get that one last opportunity to tie the game.
And it's so difficult to be able to get some of these touches off right now. You can see some of the panicked touches here, some of these pre-jumps, as you see Fluffy B just trying to get any contact on it away. But contact right now is all on the side of Haul In. They're just continuing to throw the ball forward, and sometimes that is a great way to play defense by just continuously throwing it onto offense. Stokely trying to put this one to bed. High lob, getting a double commit. CJ not even able to get their boost here. Everything going the way of Haul In. It's so easy for everything to fall apart. They have to remain focused, especially some of these demos coming through. Some deep rotations attempted from HBU, but nothing really too sustained.
I like the Haul In as well. They're slowing down before they take their shots. Just making sure that they get it on target to actually commit the HBU defense rather than trying to predict and maybe make a more, let's say, I don't know, a more time-saving run, perhaps a more moment-saving run. Talking about moment-saving, ZG Cal, or ZJ Cal, bleh, getting a savior medal of his own. Tom back in place. It's do or die for HBU. You've got to throw the kitchen sink, but the sink has been thrown right back through the window. 10 seconds left. A miss here. Bolsters, that's nice. That's going straight for the far corner. But Stokely on his way back from 100 boost, gathering himself. Is he going to put the dagger into the chest? Oh, it's off the crossbar. Doesn't matter. Haul In will be back into the upper bracket. They're back into the grand finals. But my goodness me, that was close.
It certainly was. And again, just a long, clear reminding that as much as we talk about strategy, infield passes, making sure you follow through, making sure you get these demos, the rotations are clean. Sometimes ball hit long is really all you really need to have to get a goal. And then even beyond that, that's almost what we saw, if not for Stokely taking the deepest of rotations to the backboard, to his own back corner, getting boost, and then sending one deep. You're not going to be able to cap it with a cherry, but sometimes wins don't always have to be pretty. 2-1 in Game 5 is something you'll take all day long. Now we will be seeing that rematch between Holland and Silver Twos, but it took some doing. Hats off, I will say, to the side of HPU. Certainly something I'm looking forward to see how you regain on the next Trios event.
Hats off, but commiserations, of course. They are out of the tournament. One more break to go, my friends, and then the grand finals awaits. Silver Twos on their throne, looking pretty, aren't they? But are they going to be usurped by a lower, albeit a brief, but a lower bracket run nonetheless from Hall In? It's all on the other side of this break. We hope to see you then.
Yeah, no, I never thought that this summer would be as incredible as it is. I didn't think that a summer could be this incredible.
Every year, members of Pi Kappa Phi fraternity from across the country bike thousands of miles to raise awareness for people with disabilities.
It was definitely the best decision I ever made.
It's cool because I can call these guys my brothers and we've gotten so close.
I mean, it has some tough days, but those tough days only make you a better man, make you a better Pi Kappa.
And it was the best decision I can ever make in my life, because making those connections, friendships, people with all abilities, just going day in, day out with these cyclists, it's just amazing.
It's made me more aware of how to impact others and how to serve in the smaller ways.
You know, it just gave me a whole new perspective on everything, and my whole family, which was kind of against fraternity as well. Once they heard everything that Kapp did and the ability experience brought to the table, their whole perspective changed, and they love Kapp now.
I'm super excited to travel the country, as well as building unforgettable relationships with the different brothers around the country.
I am closer with my national brothers than I am my own chapter brothers, and so getting to experience this with so many others has been probably the greatest experience of my entire life, and I will cherish and remember this forever.
Welcome back to the Kapp Gaming Rocket League's trios, where we are at our grand final stage. Relic joined by Danger Taco, Uni showing you all of the pretty pictures. And Taco, we got ourselves a rematch from our very first series of the evening. In that series, we were thinking maybe it could have been a 3-1, maybe a 3-2. But one thing that was undeniable was that Silver Tuesday, they just looked like they had the better quality all around the pitch.
The Bruton Parker College chapter of Phi Kappa Phi is certainly deep with the Rocket League skill, as they have a lot of depth with Sino and Antics leading the charge. And they were certainly the tyrants on the field when facing off against that squad from Hall Inn. But I will have to say that getting a victory once, we've seen this before, getting it in a winter final, moving on to grands, it doesn't necessarily mean that the exact same thing will happen. So as we look at the bracket to see how everything's progressed, yes, Hall Inn getting right back into it, but right now, if you are the side of Silver Twos, you are just waiting for really anyone to take a chip out of you, not having dropped a single game in this streak through the upper bracket.
You know, if Hall Inn had gone to the lower bracket and gotten themselves a 2-0, I would have perhaps felt a little bit more positive about their chances in this grand finals. But as it happened, it was a little bit more of a slog than was necessary, having to go to game number 5 in order to take down HPU, who themselves never really showed a complete nature to their gameplay. The same could be said of Hall Inn. There were still issues there which had to be ironed out, and if those issues persist into this grand final, then I think a lot of people are going to see which way the wind is blowing. But here at PyCap, the whole idea is that we are creating leaders for the future, giving folks opportunities that otherwise they would never have in order to raise themselves up as better individuals, as better human beings. And part of being a better individual is learning when to share, when to, although lead from the front, listen to the people behind you. One of the most important things, of course, is about giving back to the people who are following you to wit's end. And so with that in mind, let's take a little look at this lovely video, which is titled The Essence of Giving.
So Emily was really, really ill, and they couldn't get a diagnosis on her. And I remember when you were 3 years old, and I was standing in the hospital room, the children's hospital, where you'd been hospitalized for almost a month.
Yeah.
I remember standing there and saying, 30 years from now, they'll know what this is. You couldn't talk, you couldn't sit up straight, you couldn't eat, you couldn't feed yourself. And then you bounce back. That's who you are. And your personality shines through no matter what you're going through.
I didn't know what I was getting into at all. At all.
Emily is really family to us. She's been a great friend to our family. She's watched our kids grow up. Our kids have been going to the Journey of Hope since they were born, spending every summer with the Journey of Hope.
She says that it's when the Journey of Hope, the teams come through town, it's better than Christmas and her birthday combined.
Because our kids have grown up with her and seen her, and we've been with her for such a long time. We've gotten to know her really well, and she has just an infectious joy for life. And she's taught us a lot about being joyful.
I rode my bike and I didn't
enthusiastically.
Yeah, enthusiastically, yeah. Not just riding with them. I was dancing with them too, huh, Mommy? Yeah. The Backstreet Boys too. They're funny with me. They're silly with me. And I love all the guys that come and visit me every year.
It's kind of inspiring, isn't it? We love Denver. This is the best city. And then to think that their friendship stop is in Denver, and to think of them riding them down from the mountains, that's really cool. Isn't it? Yeah. And then they feel like dancing at night.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened.
When my mom picked me up, I don't even have a voice at all.
When I heard about Emily's gift, a monthly gift, a monthly pledge to the Ability Experience, I was just amazed because it's such a great testament to the woman that she's become, and for her to go off and work and take care of herself and save money and then want to give back to the organization that we all know and love. It's just a great testament, and it's a lesson for all of us about giving back, and she's obviously doing that, and inspiration to all of us.
Well, first of all, I was surprised. She did not say, "Mom, look, guess what I did? Guess what I did?" And she didn't draw attention to it, and she didn't go around announcing it to anyone. I did not know that she had done it until someone with the ability experience said, "Oh, thank you for your gift." That was just something that she decided she would do, and I'm so proud of her. That's the essence of giving, isn't it? Yeah, you decide you're going to be committed to it, and you just give. You don't make a big deal out of it. You just contribute because that's what you do.
I'm Emily, right, Mom?
Because you're Emily.
And it makes me feel really happy too to do that for them.
I want people to know that Emily is a person first. Sometimes people try to categorize people, and Emily defies categorization. Emily's found a tribe. She's got a real sense of belonging, year in and year out. People know who Emily is. She knows who they are. She keeps in touch with them.
Over Facebook.
She raises lots and lots of money. This is the high point of your social calendar. You really have a group. You have a sense of belonging, and you really have a sense that you're doing something for the people.
For the boys. The boys. I love the boys too, that.
Your gift has the power to change lives, so please join us with Emily and make a gift to the Ability Experience on Giving Tuesday.
There's a lot of sadness and dourness and a lot of searching out for what is wrong with the world in today's, I think, just social sphere. But I think with that story in particular, it really does go to show that perhaps we should all be looking for the kind acts that go unnoticed, because sometimes they don't want to be noticed, but they should have the spotlight shone on them, like Emily's story there. Just a wonderful story to share with all of us today, and let us all take inspiration. Try and do something kind for someone that and it can make the world of difference. So the Ability Experience, once again, be sure to go ahead and if you can pledge, then it is much appreciated. And now to matters at hand, Taco. We have ourselves a grand finals ahead. Two excellent teams, and kindness hopefully to be shown within their ranks. It's sure to be an excellent affair.
Yeah, and I think the rematch is always something that we have to wonder, is this just going to be more of the same? No one likes to watch a rerun, but everyone likes to see a twist in the tale, and very much so that you can choose your own adventure if you are the side of Hall In. They have to think that something is going to change from them. Yes, they had a squeaker in the last game, but I think that doesn't really reflect what can be predictive about the future. You can only take from what you learned from the last time you matched off, and this time it's all on the line. They've at least guaranteed second place, but you don't enter a tournament to get silver. You go for the gold. Grand final, Hall In and Silver Twos facing off to take the crown here in our PyCap Rocket League Trios tourney.
One final best of 5. The winner walks away with $600, and how about that for a start? Sino looking for the 1v1 Vin with an early save. That's sure to boost the confidence after a couple of missed touches in the closing moments of their last series in the lower bracket up against HBU. Oh, down from the ceiling. Tom falls into the hands of Stokely. Stopped in the midfield line. Good to see this Silver Twos team back in action. But of course, they have had a little bit of time off here. Maybe they've decided to scrim in ranked or something, Taco. But in terms of this competitive experience, they are coming in cold.
And sometimes when you need to make sure everything is going smoothly, you got to make sure that you just got to warm up the sticks, as even just a few minutes between games can really stress out a team. And it's often why a lot of players do not like to join a lobby until they actually do have time to warm back up, because you're going to need it, especially when Kim is getting 50s like that one off the back end. A boost steal by the second man means a third hit strike, and boy, does he. Antics from bar down.
Antics with his Antrix. It's a lovely shot, and what great credit we have to give to Tom, pulling off one of the saves of the entire day last season, almost repeating that feat but the ball just nipping in just a little in front of where he was expecting it. Silver 2s with the lead.
So we'll see him send another one down, and certainly wait until the last moment to get that first save, but at the follow-up, immediately shot through from Stokely, who will then circle right back around and hit one to the far side wall. So we'll rebound forward, and so everyone was somewhat buffering on that next read through, as I think care with every single touch is going to be so crucial, as at the grand final, certainly at any stage of a tournament, much more when the stakes are this high, you can't really afford to have any of these weak touches through the midfield or through your own back end. Stokely, how often can they do that? Come to the rescue in the final second to clear one away.
Oh, they're in a tough situation here, and they rescue themselves beautifully by just dead stopping that against the backboard. They're able to reel their way out of a tight scenario. Still with that 1-0 lead, of course, maybe looking to double it up. Bit of a worksman-like clearance from Hall in here as Stokely's up to meet this ball. Oh, manages to find a second touch. It's a miss on the backboard. Stokely gobbles up the opportunity.
And I want to, of course, highlight the skill to be able to get this angle with the side of the underside. But the one thing that always speaks to me the most is he set that play up, and you have to have faith. Even if you think a defender might clear it, you might as well. It's in your best interest to stay on track with the potential bounce, and they do, getting one back. But for how much longer? Antics was screaming through, not able to get that first touch. Him trying to get the rebound, but instead it's going to be the follow-up from Hall in. Another deflection to the back post, but not going to be able to get past Antics. Another touch through.
For as pacey and aggressive as the Silver 2s have been, All In have taken their moment. They've taken their chance. The real big one that has made the difference here as we approach half-time. The 100 is picked up by Vin, and he follows the ball up to the side, just maybe looking to make Silver 2s guess. Make them wait a little bit, burn a little bit more time off the clock. Here's Stokely. Oh, Vin cuts in ahead of him. I don't think Stokely knew too much about that, but Sino, looking for his teammate there, isn't able to find the connection. Sino left to his own devices around the corner, and there's the punishment. It's going to be snuffed out.
Another touch there from Silver 2s. Not necessarily going to kickstart the offense, but I love those touches to just be able to make the defense annoyed, being able to ricochet it across, be able to just lob it up, force them to really circle their wagons and figure out how they're actually going to get these touches off. Certainly, it's a question that keeps on being asked of them as the ball is ricocheting all the way around the half of Hall in. However, how much longer can they withstand it as the passes start to flow on through? That is a tough angle, and that shows why it's only going to be able to roll to the far side.
Antics. He beats one, not going to beat three. Stokely will eventually find his way onto the ball once again. Actually leaves it for Tom, who fires wide. His Antics with a full center boost. Oh, that's an open shooting lane. Well defended by Stokely. Antics with another 100 pickup, this time a boost steal. Flip reset. Over the top of the final defender. Antics all on his own. 2-1.
It's brilliantly done, but that's why you don't give him any space. The setup looks so tame. They have to get so far around it, but that flip reset, the timing, the angles, everything came together. You could almost feel the defender thing, and yes, I have everything covered. And the moment that ball is hit, that creeping doubt enters in and is then fully vindicated from the side of Antics. Able to put it through, and now Stokely to answer back, but they can't get it underneath.
Players with that amount of mechanical ability, the only way that you can defeat them is if you get up in their face. Like you say, don't give them the time to use the mechanics that they are so good with. Might very well be the difference maker. 60 seconds for Hall in to deny that particular outcome. As Sino will miss the ball along with Vin. Going ahead, gets the demo, and that is such a proactive play, which hasn't somehow resulted in a goal. Did everything right, but Antics unable to finish.
Goal line theatrics, always something that is going to be welcome from any side, but you don't really have to rely on it. Obviously, that's usually something that you want to be able to pull out if you need to, but rather not have to really crave for it. So they will be able to take a somewhat of a sigh of relief, but not necessarily because they're the lead, but only because they have forestalled what seems to be the inevitable. That looked like it was destined for the back of the net, but instead going to be wide. Here comes Tom, lobbing it slowly, forces out a double. Stokely trying to build, but that bounce not going to favor them. Another slap away into the midfield.
Well, one good mistake deserves another. It should be 3-1 as it remains 2-1. It allows Hall in one final opportunity, 1v1. Stokely, that pops up. Where's his teammate? Here's Vin. That's not going too far, especially with being on the net. That's had a fortuitous bounce, but Sino with a fortuitous pinch for himself. That's still up in the air. Still has yet to find his way to the ground. Stokely with the pop. Surely Antics to kill the game, and does so. Silver Twos. That is 4 consecutive game wins against Hall-In now.
And Silver Twos certainly showing that they do have the composure as well, but it also has to be somewhat frustrating as you have the game win, you cleared it down, and then Hall-In repeatedly keeping the ball up, keeping things competitive, and you got to make sure that you play it till the very last drop. No whistle at Rocket League, but at the very least, the ball has to touch that turf, and eventually it will. But I will say, for a game one, could be a lot worse if you are Hall-In. You are getting somewhat buried in other games, as you mentioned. That's their 4th straight loss against the squad. But if you can keep things close, that's really all they need to do. I think Stokely has been able to obviously be a driver of a lot of these impactful plays forward for Hall-In. But it really, seeing the step up from Vin, seeing the step up from Tom, this is the thing I'm looking for. Every person is coming to the table. Now you just need to make sure the synergy is there. Consistency will follow through as well. They're looking for their first game win, and they're going to have to do 3 at least to be able to take this grand over a dominant Silver Twos, looking to complete a perfect sweep through a bracket.
I'm so glad that you mentioned Tom and Vin, actually, because as you rightly point out, Tom had a great series in the lower bracket. He's continued that momentum, and Vin didn't have a great series, but managed to do really well as well. There's Tom again with some good creativity. Vin towards net now, another save required here, as Silver Twos are forced into defense early doors. Nice clearance. Here's Stokely. Has to clear the lines. Nothing too fancy with that, but it's on target anyway. Oh, it's off the crossbar and away by Antics.
And it's good to have faith in your teammates, but sometimes not too much. You got to make sure you cover everything in the end. Stokely trying to test just how dedicated they are to that mantra. The first defender went in, the second defender had to bite late. It will work out all in the end. Stokely, despite their best efforts, not able to put Hall-In in the lead. Silver Twos able to depend on these slower touches, all these air dribbles to buy their team time, get their boost, refuel, and then come up with a plan of attack. This time they're going to the air, but no one able to actually receive it.
Sino goes straight for net, and that's off woodwork. Vin denied his escape route by Antics, who himself is denied anyway forward by Stokely, who beats 1, beats 2. It's 3v1. Surely this is a goal. Would you believe it, Taco? It is going to be a goal, but for Silver Twos.
Sino staring down a lot. Sometimes you just got to dive at it, hope for the best. And how about this one? Not getting bumped. They are the bumper, sending the first player out to the sideline, and Stokely, waiting for the opening, will instead provide one to his opponent. Everything seemed to be going the way of Hall-In, but Silver Twos always find a way to escape from that Houdini-esque contraption that seemed to have bound them. Found a way to pull off a perfect escape. Wonderful goal to open things up.
How do you beat the odds? You flip the table. And Silver 2 seem to be able to flip that table multiple times. Filkinov flips. How about a flip reset? Antics and Silver 2's another second goal lead.
And this is actually the hardest part about flip resets, in my humble opinion, is not getting the initial set, but being able to make the contact strong enough. All 3 players from Hall-In on the goal line, waiting for the shot, thinking there's no possible way it can be fast enough to beat all of us, and Antics instead will send a laser right past to test that Fury. 2-0. And now we start to see, is this the beginning of a snowball down the mountain into an avalanche? Or does Hall-In able to get in there, be able to put their foot between them and the rest of these goals and say, no, this is just an awkward start, but we can finish strong as well. Man. Nearly third creeping in. Goal line theatrics coming through yet again.
Yeah, you've got to be hurting if you're Hall-In from a 3v1 scenario. You bet 9 times out of 10 that would be a goal for your team, and to have it go completely the other way, and then for a second goal to go in within 20 seconds of the first, it sucks. It's horrible, and Hall-In still know that although they're having these shooting opportunities, the Silver 2 defense is just too strong still to this point. 5 games now into Hall-In versus Silver 2 is almost like a mega series in a way. Stokely the only player from Hall-In to score for Silver 2's, and it seems to be either through an own goal situation or a moment of excellence. Another denial there by Sino, a savior medal.
And it will make sure this deflection will home all the way down the field, and I like the usage of the corner there. It's not necessarily a pass in the middle, but it forces all of Hall-In to rush all the way back into their goal line, then deflect it through, and I think this change of pace from Silver 2s is actually the hardest part about it. The defense, it feels untenable at times because you just can't really figure out what's about to happen. Same with when you do eventually get up onto offense. Seems like the touches and 50s on these challenges are superb. Silver 2's always seemingly in the right position. Can they be on a long clear? Kim had to half flip into position. Can they get a follow through a goal line save from their teammate? And still, Holland getting frustrated right at the death.
Sino is going to be a wanted man after this series. The amount of saves he's putting up, and these are good shot opportunities from Holland as well. They're not exactly your run-of-the-mill, oh, I'm just going to have a shot on target and see what happens. They're well put together plays. I have seen a visible improvement in the team synergy of Holland from that first series to this one. It's much like that final game against Silver 2s in the upper bracket final, however. Every rub of the green is going in favor of Silver 2s, is going against Holland. That's almost a third there. Maybe it'll arrive here. Oh, when it rains, it pours.
And Sino able to put this one flawlessly. This ball isn't necessarily the best pass as Sino's to get across it, but as you see, Tom is waiting for a shot. It has to be. He's thinking on that near post, right down the middle, but instead it's a slow roller into the one place that the defender can't turn in time. Devastating goal to go through, as you're looking surely to be the victory for Silver 2s that push them on to match point. But this is just what they do. They're not dominating every single exchange, but when it comes down to a 50-50, more often than not, Silver 2s will win it. And when it comes to an open shot on net, they are not going to toss that one away carelessly too often. No fourth quite yet, but still in the mixes. Sino can't quite get their hat trick as of yet.
Bean throws it over to the wall, and a miss from Tom is just going to slow down that play. It's going to limit their opportunities. Vin pushes forward again, but where's that ball going? Backboard up and away. Antics on hand. Oh, Stokely avoiding the bump. But two back in net. They can park the bus as far as they're concerned. Tom, even a quick turn isn't going to give him the shooting chance that he was looking for. Vin as well denied. Silver 2s, whenever the pace seems to increase, they are able to head up into top gear. Match point scenario, and Silver 2's looking pretty unbeatable.
Yeah, right now, and that is the crux of it all, is that every team has a weakness, but if Silver 2s does have it, I don't really know what it could possibly be. They're very good at hiding that away behind several layers, because right now for Silver 2s, everything is going their way. Even when a shot does come through, they just have the positioning right to be able to get a goal line saves. And when you do see this side of Holland getting goals, it's really just from taking advantage of an infield pass that gets presented to them in the small modicum of space that they are allowed. And at this point, I would like to see some demos, anything to shake up Silver 2s. The individual plays have been brilliant, but a lot of it has been on the back of them being in combination with each other, building these plays through the midfield into the attacking play, and maybe just a little bit of dash of solo skill sometimes if that is not available.
Holland just lacking a little bit of that indefinable X factor to really turn the tides in their favor. It's something that Silver 2 have in spades as Stokely. Oh, Vin. Oh, Stokely. Oh, Adol. Oh, just noises from me, Taco. Finally. Finally a goal. Stokely having to return to the scene of the crime to be able to finish the job.
This almost feels like improvisation practice from the casting booth, as we're just trying to figure out how are we going to form that next sentence. So it'll help if we have any idea who's actually going to be able to score. It's going to be Stokely, as one might expect, but the path we took to that is so topsy and turvy. So many goal line saves, a little bit of uncertainty in the comms, it looked like, from Holland. As you had mentioned, Stokely had the first 50, they left it for a teammate, but regardless of all that commotion, it shows that maybe that is the solution. Silver 2s can't know what's coming if you don't either.
Tom has moved a little bit too far at the pitch. Good read. That is straight to an opposition player, and it's well defended. All in with a rare lead. How do you keep it? Low on boost, Tom. And almost shoved in the top pocket. Ricochets off the woodwork. Stokely with a miss himself. Not able to get past Sino. Over to the wall, where he finds Antics. Moves forward. Nice play here from Silver 2. Taking out Sino at the midfield line is Stokely, and that is going to be enough to break the back for now.
Yeah, the infield pass, keeping things competitive. I like the look. However, Antics is going to very much get dunked into his own corner. Back by Vin. I don't blame them for that, but they need to get a better angle. Same with the defender. They were wrong tired on that one, but they still are managing to get back to it, get the touch, and get it clear into the midfield, as it looks like Antics is going to stay underneath this one and just try to flick it infield to Kim on target, but you're not going to beat Stokely with a shot that weak.
Second goal would be just monstrously important for Hall-In at this stage. You're expecting a goal from the Silver Twos. You're counting down the second to a goal from Silver Twos, but still the goal does not come for Silver Twos until now. Antics took 3 players, took 3 bites of the cherry, but the cake has been baked.
Sometimes you just need all the finesse in the world. Antics gets the air roll all the way across the ball. They know with an open net, you don't need to pound it home. You don't need to place it flawlessly. It just needs to be enough. And boy, was that 1-1 Holland. Best they've looked in quite some time. But as you can see, even just getting 1 save is not enough. Sometimes you need everybody in perfect synchronization to be able to get these touches through. Now that Sino been kept off the score sheet as of late, but always seems to find a way to rear their head eventually in a series. That looked like a good start, but maybe they don't finish it off, but at least they can kickstart something as these clears not quite coming through from Holland yet. It's still being held up in front of their net, but Tom will play instead for the 50, try to slow things down, get things back under control.
There's a demo on Antics, and immediately you can see the domino effect here. Haul-in allowed to clear a lot more successfully, allowed a bit more time to try and get more boost back in the tanks. On the chase, Sino. Stokely gets enough on it. That's a shot infield. And Tom with another big save. Pulls back to Antics. Back, reloaded, plenty of boost. Off the top of the box, going for the pinch off the ground. Doesn't exactly go the direction he was hoping for, but Sino looking to recycle to the side, back into the center. Shot away, and Stokely with the save.
Not only that, but as keep it again close enough, that first save is going to be a bit awkward as Sino's going to have to reach for this one. They keep it down the line, and the deep rotations from Haul-in, that was a golden opportunity for them to wrangle forward and then touch that ball into another dangerous position, but instead they're looking for all the boost. Now can you use it? That's over 2. Stokely as the 3rd reliable defender, swooping in just in time yet again. Now they're going to have to see if they can come in again from the graveyard as they spawn perfectly, get that boost steal, but no clear.
What a readjust from Antics. What a passing field from Antics. What a great move in total from Silvers too. Sino with the go-ahead goal. 90 seconds of this tournament could be done.
And that's a back pass. How many times have we seen that from Silver Twos? It's something that's so unexpected when you do have Haul-in on defense. They're all locked in. They're not necessarily parking the bus, but they're just trying to make sure they're covering the net. But once that ball goes back, they get drawn out. A lob over the top completely undoes everything, and find ourselves at a 2-1 advantage. This is all the goals that Silver Twos need. Maybe a third. Will be able to put this one truly to bed. No touch on the first, the second over the bar. Here comes the counter.
You can see Silver Twos trying to play a bit of possession theory here. The longer you keep it away from your opponents, the less opportunity they will have to get a shot or any shot at all on your net. Forced to give it up here. Vin to Stokely. Antics trying to meet him. Stokely looking to go underneath him. Antics wins the day. A save back in field. Tom to nobody in particular. Back in the hands of Silver 2. Here's Kim Bean. Fanciful, ballerina-like. Stopped. Antics taken off his hood by Sino. And finally, Sino denied, hits the midfield line. 40 seconds left.
And Kim is trying to jump right on this one. You might expect the side of Silver Twos to back off eventually, but it doesn't seem like they really have any concern about that. They're just going to keep on pouring the pressure on. Another near post, not on target, but it forces a first challenge. Stokely, deep. Can they get to it in time? Antics, they get the first touch. It's a lob to the back post. There is Vin. It's over the bar. The putback denied as well. A save to the corner. A heartbreaker, but it's not done yet. No tears to be shed until this ball hits the ground. Maybe only one attack remaining for Haul-in to try to bring this one all back, but it's going to have to go through a midfield challenge, and maybe Stokely one more time. A 50 into the middle, a shot from downtown, and it's not going to even have to go in. The damage has been done, and this bracket has been decimated by the Silver Twos. They are your Kapp Rocket League Trios champions.
And that one is going to be haunting Vin for the next couple of nights. I can tell you that for certain. And it just goes to show the importance of, in those clutch moments, shot conversion is critical. They had a second shot opportunity, but by the time that came around, there was a player back ready to stymie it and to throw it to the side. It's a real shame there. A great opportunity to at least force an overtime, but the Silver 2 squad simply too great. Sino excellent on defense. Antics for me I was going to say Antics player of the tournament. No, I think Sino is. the player of the tournament simply because of how strong he was in defense, denying so many great opportunities for any opponent that he came up against, and actually getting pretty crucial goals to help just cement the leads of his Silver 2 squad around him. Mantix, of course, doing plenty of Mantix things for sure, but, you know, I've got an MVP. I'll give it to him. And that brings to a close then the PyCap Trios Rocket League tournament. $600 going the way of the winners, of course, Taco. But in terms of PyCap Gaming, there is another tournament, albeit in a different game, heading our way this month, or next month, I should say.
Absolutely, and if anyone is a fan of the Warzone type genre of game, specifically that Call of Duty Warzone, then you can join in on December 4th for the PyCap tournament that will be taking place then. So, of course, gather up your mates, make sure that you can actually enter that one in for a chance at some more glory, as nothing is better than playing with some of your brothers in the PyCap arena to be able to partend in a bunch of different games. Who knows? Maybe all these players at that Bruton Parker chapter who have just won this tournament in Silver 2s, maybe they could turn their attention to a whole different type of game. Who knows the dominance that could be foretold about them in future generations.
Well, today has been a fun evening. We've got to give, of course, a big shout out to the people behind the scenes putting this all together, the likes of Evanescence, the likes of Sarah and Phil, putting together the broadcast team, making sure that all of the gears are well oiled and the machine is working to its maximum capacity and efficiency. Thank you so much for having us all along. A big thank you to all of you out there, the audience. These broadcasts aren't the same without you. We see you, we love you, we much appreciate you, as we also do Uni, of course. The pretty pictures, the production, it doesn't go ahead without someone like Uni, so thank you very much for your time. Taco, been a pleasure. I've just been Relic, and from all of us here, it's a very warm goodbye.
Yeah, no, I never thought that this summer would be as incredible as it is. I didn't think that a summer could be this incredible.
Every year, members of Pi Kappa Phi fraternity from across the country bike thousands of miles to raise awareness for people with disabilities.
It was definitely the best decision I ever made.
It's cool because I can call these guys my brothers and we've gotten so close.
I mean, it has some tough days, but those tough days only make you a better man, make you a better Pi Cap.
And it was the best decision I can ever make in my life, because making those connections, friendships, people with all abilities, just going day in, day out with these cyclists, it's just amazing.
It's made me more aware of how to impact others and how to serve in the smaller ways.
You know, it just gave me a whole new perspective on everything, and my whole family, which was kind of against fraternity as well. Once they heard everything that PyCap did and the ability experience brought to the table, their whole perspective changed, and they love PyCap now.
I'm super excited to travel the country, as well as building unforgettable relationships with the different brothers around the country.
I am closer with my national brothers than I am my own chapter brothers, and so getting to experience this with so many others has been probably the greatest experience of my entire life, and I will cherish and remember this forever.